Welcome, Visionary Woman. This week, we're talking about why things are still inconsistent in your business. And I'm going to call you forward and I'm going to talk about the gap between your standards, maybe your desires, and your execution, or who you think you are versus who you're being in a day-to-day basis in your business, the gap between it, and how to close that gap. We're talking a lot today about consistency, about showing up, about taking aligned action and being sustainable in your business and alignment. And I really think that if any of what I've said so far has perked your interest, you'd probably get a lot from my book, Radical Self-Honoring, but you'd probably even more so get a lot from the free companion journaling workbook that you can access with my book. So it was about a year ago that I created it, but I think it's about 20 questions per chapter, something like that. So as you're reading, you can in real time journal out the things that I'm talking about and actually come up with some new ways of seeing and reprogramming and some new beliefs and standards for yourself while you're taking in the information. Nothing I do is ever meant to just be you sit and listen, or you sit and read, or you sit and take on information. It's meant to be actioned, and you'll only get results from actioning things. And I really think that companion journaling workbook is this little golden nugget that people don't know exists, that if you actually sat there with it, read the book over a month and you did the journaling every day, I think you would have a completely different life and a completely different business on the other side of it. And dare I say, I actually think your nervous system would be in a better place as well. And you might feel a bit more calm and a bit more grounded in your own authenticity and your own truth. One, consistency is like this big drama. It's this big drama, and it's this really wildly important thing for business growth. It's also wildly important for any other project that you're doing. So think about working out at the gym, think about diet, think about writing a book. If you're not routinely showing up for that thing, it's probably not going to happen. And the first thing that I want to say is that when people hear this word consistently, especially the manifesting generators amongst us, they go, oh, that means I have to do it all every day forever for the rest of my life and I'm never allowed to take a break. And that's not what consistency means. Consistency means that there is a reasonable regularity, that there's a routine. So for instance, once a month, I plan my content for the month. And I do that most months. And some months, I don't do that for a month because maybe I've banked up content and I don't need to come up with anything new. But I do it most months. But it's not that I have to do that every day and I'm locked in and it's stressful and it's overwhelming. It's 2 hours every 5 to 8 weeks. It's not a big deal. And I think half of the reason why people can't be consistent is that they create a lot of unnecessary stories around it. And if they don't do it for one day, they hate themselves. And it's no, you need to be more graceful with yourself, but you need to be graceful with yourself at the same time as governing yourself and holding yourself accountable to the things that you want. So the first piece is we really need to stop making this such a drama, and we need to break it down into bite-sized, sustainable, approachable chunks rather than trying to be psychotic with it. And I need to hear that as well, especially in my exercise routines. I think I've talked about this for years on the podcast. I really have to always get my ego in check and be like, no, just go to the gym 3 times a week. And when you've done that for a month, then you can start going 4. But don't try to go to the gym 5 times a week. It's just probably biting off more than all of us can chew. We're burning out, we're tired, we're overwhelmed, and then we fall off the wagon. And everyone does that in business. I see it very consistently. So that's the first piece that I want to talk about. But the next piece that I want to talk about is sometimes with business, people, this is part of my niche. Part of the problems that I solve in business is people who don't know what to do, or people who do know what to do, but they can't get themselves to consistently do it, or they don't have the support or the structures or the systems that will help them to consistently do it. So the first thing to talk about here is that sometimes it is that you actually don't know and you need more information, but sometimes it's that you do know what you need to do, but knowing isn't going to get results. So we talk about this a lot in coaching, and there's something called performative progress, which is a way that our brains trick us into thinking that we have moved forward or we have taken action when we haven't really. So a really common performative progress that I see in business is people DIY rebranding or people working on their website. And it's like, it feels good that you've done something, but it's not going to change anything. It's not really going to change anything. Yeah, you tinkering away in the back end on a website that no one's seeing isn't going to change anything. Yeah. And another one that's really common is signing up for a gym, buying heaps of workout gear, all the gear, no idea, and feeling like you've gone to the gym because you've got organized and you paid for your membership, but you haven't actually gone. That's performative progress. And a lot of people are doing that all the time in business. And then they're mad at themselves and they're upset that nothing's changed. And it's because it feels like they're moving forward, but they technically haven't taken action. So some of the ways that I can see people are consistently sabotaging their success and their growth and their ability to be consistent. I'm going to lay a few out here so that you can just think about it. Excessively researching things and feeling like you need to know everything before you can take even a tiny micro step. That's a really big issue with younger people. I've had that with any Gen Z clients that I have. There's this concept of you're not allowed to do or say anything until you know everything about everything. And that's going to be impossible. So that's a really impossible task. No human can know everything about everything in the world. That's not ever going to happen. So it's a really easy way and a big excuse to hold yourself back. Constantly experimenting in public, growing in public, and then not realizing that it's degraded trust in you. So what I mean by this is there's a lot of people who build in public, and if you ask anyone in business, they will be like, that doesn't work unless you already have a platform. Someone who built in public was Hailey Bieber with Rode. She was talking about her skincare products for years before she actually released Rode, but she wasn't doing TikToks talking about the emails that she's sending. Difference. And she obviously already had a massive platform to begin with. And another piece of this is changing your niche every 2 weeks and then wondering why no one knows what you do. Of course, you're going to struggle to be consistent if you haven't even committed to the basic foundations of what you're doing. Another one, just basic I've written here, is never committing, just never constantly uprooting and never just going, this is what I'm doing and I'm not going to entertain changing it again. The creatives that I work with really struggle with this. And if you struggle with this, it's a sign that you probably need some hobbies, because trying to get all of your creative juice and dopamine from your business is not going to happen. I'm sure there's businesses where you could get a huge amount of creative juice from them, but there's always going to be the boring parts of the work. And if you think that 100% of your work is going to be just juicy creative, I don't think that's true for anyone. And the last one is a little bit niche, a little bit interesting, but it's backtracking after expansion. So having a moment of expansion and then going into hiding. I've had this happen a couple of times with clients when we rebrand and it feels like a really big up level for them and they feel really amazing and really proud and then they kind of go, oh, this is too big too soon, and then they disappear for a while. Or people go, wow, I've got this amazing brand, but I don't want to invest in getting someone to build my website, so I'm going to spend the next 6 months trying to build my website, and in that 6 months I'm going to disappear. And those are not good moves. If you have a moment of expansion, I invite you to sit in it and celebrate it and actually slow down enough to go, wow, I got here. Wow, this is a big deal. Not get in your head about it, freak yourself out and do a runner, which is what I see happening a lot. I've talked about this idea of compounded interest in your business actions, but really business growth is going to come from you setting the boundaries, the rules, the standards, the guidelines in your business and sticking to them. So whether that's every month I batch my content, every month I send out an email, every day I post on stories, like whatever it is, you need to come up with habits and decisions that are locked in and loaded. And another piece of this, which I think a lot of business owners don't think about enough, is this concept of decision fatigue. Now, I think there's a whole chapter in my book about decision fatigue, but essentially it means that we all have a certain amount of willpower in a day. And especially nowadays, because if you think about every time you're on a computer, every time you're on your phone, you're making a decision. Do I or do I not open Instagram, read my email, open that email, go on that shopping tab, let alone do I or do I have a banana or yogurt for breakfast? Do I wear this top or this top? Like, we are inundated with decisions. And what often happens is that by 11 a.m., our willpower is maxed out. So if you're having to make decisions every day in your business, for instance, what am I going to put on my to-do list today? You've probably already started out on the back foot. So having systems like a monthly schedule in your calendar where you don't have to make a decision every day is going to support that. That's something that we do in one-to-one coaching, but also limiting the other decisions that you make in your life outside of business and inside of it will allow you to ride that willpower wave a little bit more. And I believe, I hope that the book that we're reading in my free book club at the moment is going to help a little bit with that, because it's all about high performance. And I know that a lot of high performing achievers tend to lock down their decision fatigue. So I'll pop the link to the book club in the show notes as well. That's completely free. And we read a new book every 2 months. A couple of the decisions that I have locked down in my life are, and they might sound funny to you, they sound a bit funny when I say them out loud. We batch cook food in the slow cooker and we buy our groceries every 2 weeks. We'll do a quick shop once a week at the local store for veggies and fruit. But other than that, we do shopping 2 weeks. We meal plan 2 weeks. So that's twice a month I have to work out what we're going to eat. And I meal prep breakfast and lunch for myself every week. I have certain workout sets for every day and they get laid out on a Sunday. I have like a supplement, a pill container thing where I put all my medicine and all of my supplements into the days and the morning, afternoon, evening, so that I don't have to remember when I need to be taking my supplements and making sure that I'm not taking the wrong ones within time of the other ones and all of that stuff. I have certain rituals that I've done for a really long time. Every single day I do the red light mask and I meditate at the same time. I journal every day. I do pneumatic compression on my legs every night. I have certain self-care practices that I do certain days of the week and restorative practices that I do certain days of the week. I have certain self-care appointments that are booked every single month, non-negotiable. These are all little decisions. And the same with like workout plan. If every day I was like, am I going to work out today? Do you think that would happen? No. It's pre-planned, it's locked in, and I'm in a rhythm with it. Decision fatigue is a massive one that people don't talk about enough. And I think my book will help you with that. So the last piece that I want to finish on today is that I strongly believe that understanding yourself and knowing your values will help you to start taking action and developing consistent, aligned action. Because if you're working to someone else's values or what you think your values should be, you'll always feel a little bit confused and a little bit overwhelmed with the task that you need to do. What I mean by that is I use my values, my personal values, to discern how I spend my time and my energy. So if it's not aligned with my personal values, it's probably not going in my calendar. Also, I have money values and I use them to determine what I buy and don't buy. And if you haven't done the work to make your values really personal to you and really unique and not broad at all, that might just feel like more rules. But if you have done the work to excavate what is incredibly honest and authentic and true to who you are without anyone else's opinion, it will actually feel very liberating. For instance, I don't travel very much. I have traveled a lot in my life and I constantly get this little pressure of, oh, you should do a Europe trip, you should do a UK trip. And it's not that I can't afford it, I just don't prioritize it. And I always feel a bit weird about it, a bit guilty about it. And the other day I was doing restorative yoga and I thought, travel is misaligned with almost every single one of my values. I could go through every one of my values and tell you why it doesn't support travel. Maybe there's one or two that I could argue that maybe it does support, but essentially, the reason I don't travel is because it's not aligned with my values. And knowing that then takes away all that shame, all that guilt, all that questioning. I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And I can just lean into what feels right, true, and authentic to me. So, if all of this sounds interesting and you are sick of a lack of consistency, you are sick of having decision fatigue and not showing up for yourself in the way that your standards and your view of yourself would be aligned to, then I think you would get a lot from my book, Radical Self-Honoring. So I'll link that in the show notes. And I will be here in your ears next week to talk a little bit more about finding your own personal values. And if you're interested in any of this kind of work, you can see it all on my website. You can join the book club for free. And if today has sparked anything in you, or you've got any little insights, I would so love for you to rate, review, or share the podcast. I'll see you next week.